Hi, it is Thursday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, and I thought I would hop on and show you guys how to use Procreate and the Apple Pencil to do a pet portrait. And in my membership group, we've been doing like dogs and cats, but I thought maybe we could give it a try with a horse painting today. So, sorry, I look like I have like rings on my eyes because my ring light's over here and I've got the blue reflector on my eye. But I just wanted to say hi, and my hair's blowing in the wind over here because I've got the fan going before it gets too hot in here. But I'm going to flip the camera and get everything settled here before we get started. So I'm just going to go down to where my iPad's at. And I just want to make sure things are straight here. And then I'm just going to hop on to one of the Facebook groups where we're filming this live, just to make sure things look okay on your guys' end. So right now it's upside down, so I'm just going to flip this around. There we go. And now we'll go into, I'm going to scooch this over so you guys can see it really well. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go into my Procreate app here. So if you have never used Procreate before, or if you're curious about it, this is what it looks like. It's black with like a little feather. It does cost money to use Procreate. So it's about, I think when I got it a couple years ago, it was $9.99, like forever. I don't know what it is now, but it's really worth it. Here are some of my other commissions I've done using Procreate, and you can see, how amazing these can be. I'm going to scooch this down a bit so you guys can get a better view. So this is my grandma's dog, and just showing how nice you can make a pet portrait if you use Procreate. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the gallery, and now I'm going to start a new one. So I have my Apple Pencil here. You can see the tip of it. It's purple. You can buy different tips, different colors on Amazon, or probably from Apple as well. And I'm going to go to this plus sign in the upper right hand corner because we're going to do a new one. So now it's going to let you choose what size you want your canvas to be. And I think today we're going to do, I'm going to scroll down here. Oh, I think that's about, oh, I have the sizes over here. That horse, I'm cutting off a little bit of it, so it's kind of a square. Let's give this 14 by 14 one a try. Okay, so here's your canvas. You can play with this with your hands. See, you can spin it, you can move it around, whatever you need to do with it. So, and then these up here, this is what you're going to use to draw, paint, all of that. This is to hold it in place. This is an eraser. And then this is your layers. So this, and here's your color palette. So we're going to play with those as we go along today. So this is layer 1. And I'm going to go ahead and come over here to this little I want to call it a screw, and that's not the right word. It's a wrench. There we go. It's a little wrench, and we're going to insert a photo. So I've already got my reference photo right here, and there is our pretty horse. So now I got this reference photo just so you guys know if you're looking for one to practice. It's from pixabay.com, so you don't have to worry about any sort of copyright issues. And then I'm going to come down here where it says fit to canvas. and just click that and see how it automatically puts my horse on the canvas. So now I can see that his ear is cut off a little bit. I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can see better. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. Move this guy over so he's a little more centered. And I'm liking how that's looking. So once you like, oh, I pushed a button. And that, so when you're doing this, you'll notice if you're holding your Apple Pencil weird and moving stuff around at the same time, it really is kind of finicky, and sometimes it'll do that. I don't know why it's doing that. So, okay. Now that I've got it where I want it, I'm going to push this little blue arrow up here, and that's going to hold it in place. So this reference photo, if you go to your layers up here, we've got a background color and we've got a layer 1. So now I can see in my reference photo the background color is black, and I actually really like that. So I'm going to go to background color and just change it to black. So now everything's going to be black around our horse. This little edge here, we could always trim later on. I'm going to kind of draw the horse's body so it's coming off the side though, and then that way we'll just kind of extend it over there. Okay, so now that I've got my reference photo, I need to add another layer because I want to do an outline. And because it's on a black canvas, I don't want to do my outline with a black pencil. I would want to do it brown, maybe like a light brown or even white, so that I can see everything that I'm doing. So I'm going to add another layer, and then I'm going to go over, see how it's highlighted, and I know it's on. It's not having me drawing on my horse exactly. I'm drawing on a layer that's above the horse. And so now I'm going to go over to my little paintbrush here. And I like to use, so it's on monoline. I use that one for drawing out tracers. But for doing commissions and portraits, I like to go to this sketching option. There are so many different options here. You can see all the different things that you could choose if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and go with just, let's see, I think I did like this peppermint pencil before. Let's give that a try. So it just shows, so it's like you can adjust it over here if you want to. I don't usually mess with that much. I'll just pick that. And then see how it's on black? I don't want black. Like I said, I want, maybe let's do this kind of peachy cream color. And that's going to make it so that I can see what I'm doing. So now I'm going to expand my picture so that you guys can see better as I go. I think there's a little bit of a glare. I wonder if I move it over this way, you guys can see a little bit better from that glare. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just start outlining the horse. So I'm going to start from the bottom, and you can kind of go sketchy with it with this. Pulling it up. I'm actually going to, let me scoot the camera back a little bit. It's leaning on the table. It's making it bouncy. There we go. That way it doesn't move on you guys. There we go. Okay. So now I'm just going to come and outline where the hair's at. Just getting a good idea. And I can see that like under here is darker and then lighter as we go up. So I'm going to kind of keep that in mind as I'm painting later. Let's go ahead and outline the ear here. Now I can see there's a little dark spot here, a little darker and then lighter. So when I'm ready to paint, I'm going to go through and I'm going to start with my main tone, kind of underpainting, and then I'll go back and adjust to my shadow tone and my highlight tones. I love this beautiful horse color that it's got going on. The kind of a burnt sienna. I used to know all the colors of the horses and all the different types of coloring and breeds and names. I had to take a horse class in college and do like a presentation on something called imprinting when foals, kind of like what baby ducks do with their mom. And had to do this really cool PowerPoint presentation that just kind of taught how you can help horses to imprint on their owner after they're born so that they're not super skittish. Had some interesting stuff that we learned in there. There's we learned about if you use like a plastic bag and just kind of like crinkle it over their body right after they're born, just to get them used to like loud noises, just little things like that. It's kind of fun. Okay, so you can see his, I don't know if this is the right word for it, the bridle, but it's kind of an add-on that if you're a paint party artist, or even if you're not and you're just learning how to paint and learning about doing different accessories, that's a good way to practice that too. And I'm going to apologize as I'm painting this. I usually use my iPad to answer questions, but I don't have, you know what, I wonder if let's see, seeing such a glare for you guys. I wonder if I turn off this light. Good. I think that's a little bit better. That's the cool thing about this too, is you don't have to have the perfect lighting like you would if you were painting. But what I was going to say is I normally use my iPad to see the comments if I'm painting, and then my phone is filming. And so I'm going to have to kind of look up underneath my phone here and there if anyone's commenting, or I might be able to answer after I'm done. So I apologize about that. If you're asking any questions, I will definitely get to them here in just a little bit. So we can even zoom in. Okay, so see how I made an oops right there when I went to zoom in? So I'm going to scooch this over so you guys can see. There's an undo button here, and it just takes it right off. You don't have to erase and, mess all that up. So I'm going to go ahead and try to zoom again, just so you guys can see better what I'm doing. I really want to make sure when I get in on the eye that I do pretty well with it and get all the details here. I'm going to get up underneath here. There's all these little wrinkles and things that all eyes have. And I'm just sketching it on there just so I have an idea of where it's at when I go to paint it. And if you guys have never used the Apple Pencil, oh my gosh, you guys are going to love this, because there's so many different painting options. You can use there's like an Asian style brush. There's oil painting, which I really like to do. My hand's a little shaky right there, so I'm just gonna straighten that out a little bit. And as we're painting, all the sketch that I'm doing with getting that outline on there is going to get covered by the paint, so I don't have to worry about it. You could even do it as another layer, but I like to kind of blend it as I'm going. So I'm kind of seeing it's kind of dark in here. Normally, if I was doing this live, I would have pre-sketched it, but I know that many of you don't know how to do that, so I really wanted to show you guys how to pre-sketch it and get that idea in there. Okay, so now I've got that part. I can see here there's lots of highlights, and the eyelashes, horse eyelashes are weird. They go straight down. So just an idea of where those are at, and then another highlight here. Now, if you felt confident enough too, and you're really good at sketching stuff out, you don't even have to do this, or you kind of outline it ahead of time like this. You could definitely, oh, maybe that's better. My ring light decided it's too hot, so it likes to turn off when it's too hot. So now I'm gonna come over here. I think I love these little beads on the bridle, or whatever it's called. If someone knows horse lingo, please correct me. My husband and I have been really into watching Yellowstone, and I don't know if you guys have seen that show or not. We've been watching it a lot lately, and so lots of like cowboy lingo and stuff we've been learning. I think so. This is a little blurry in the picture. I'm thinking these are beads that go around this area here. This is part of the leather. And I'm not going to draw in the little dotted line where that little stitch is at, because I could do that later with the painting. And this even has a really pretty rose on it. I didn't even notice that when I found this picture. That's going to be fun to do. And if you guys can hear me talking, I'd love it if you'd let me know. Facebook yesterday approved me to earn what they call stars. And I guess I'm still trying to understand how it works, but I guess if people give me stars, I get paid for it or something like that. So if it's saying anything about stars on the description, I know right now I'm live with StreamYard, and so it's streaming 4 different locations. But if you're on Facebook and you can see it saying anything about stars, let me know. I'm curious about what it exactly means. I've seen it on other people's videos, like you can give them stars, but I think you have to buy them or something, so I don't know. Facebook is doing all sorts of things for creators that is kind of interesting and fun. But not sure how it all works sometimes. They just suddenly say, oh, you're approved. And I think it depends on how often you go live and that sort of thing, which I'm so excited for the fall. I'm going to be able to paint live more often with you guys. Okay. I love this part about a horse, this jawline. It's just so strong. Yeah, you guys can see that. I'm going to scooch this over a bit. And I can see there's going to be a bit of a shadow there, so I'm kind of sketching that. There's also a bit of a shadow over here. And a bit over here. And I just like to sketch in where the shadows are at, so I have an idea of where I'm going when I go to draw them in, or paint them in, I should say. If you're watching, feel free to say hi when you hop on. All right, I'm gonna zoom down here. See how you can just kind of play with it with your fingers? And you can, I'm even resting my arm on it and I'm still able to draw. Sometimes with like apps and stuff, if you have like another finger on it, it won't let you do that. So I feel like I'm kind of getting wiggly here. Did an arm workout this morning, so maybe my wrists are kind of sore. I don't know. So you can really get like particular about all these little details, or you can just have fun when you go to paint and be light and carefree with them. Pretty sure this goes up underneath here. It's kind of hard to see with that shadow. So I'm also going to want to get in the neckline here, and we can see that it's kind of darker in there. There's some outlines of some of their muscles. You know, they're such strong, beautiful animals. And I'm going to do some of these little light lines that are in here. Outline this shadow here. I thought I was going to draw on it for a second. So there's so much variation in their hair that if you actually start to look at it, you can really see it. And I would not, you know, even though I teach paint parties, I would not recommend doing this much work for a paint party. This would definitely be a commission. And even today, you know, I'm not going to go into as much detail as I do for my commissions, just showing you guys this just because normally these take about 5 hours for me to do, and I don't want you guys to be sitting here for a million years watching me do that. But I just want to give you guys that idea so that you know what to do if you wanted to learn how to paint your own commissions, and if you want to give this a try. So one of the things too, after you're done, it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? How would I give it to my client? Well, you could contact Costco, and they will actually get it printed for you on a canvas. There's a highlight there. I'll highlight that. You could also, I think there's some other print shops like UPS. They'll print it on a canvas for you, so it looks like a real painting. And I did have a husky commission I did a few years ago this way, and the girl loved cactuses, so it was like the husky with a cactus, and it had a super bright, fun background. And they got it printed at Costco, and it looked so awesome. And it was a gift for her friend, and she was just so happy. And that's the best part about getting to do commissions for people. They just, especially if it's a pet that has passed away or that they really love, it's a good way to memorialize them and just make it special. Okay, so I kind of can't remember if I did this line here right along the nose. So the way to check is I'm going to, make sure you guys can see this, up on where the layers are at. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to take off the horse. And see, I didn't get that line. So I need to add it back on. and then click over here, and then I can get that nice outline. And I'm kind of being sketchy with it. And that's called the blaze when they have, I do know that when they have a pretty white marking on their nose. Okay. I need to get down over here. And here's the reins hanging out. Oh, it's wanting to zoom in for me there. Oh, it switched colors. That's what it did. Don't know why it did that. See, that's the thing about Procreate too. It's just sometimes it's gonna kind of switch things up on you, and you just gotta work with it. It's just has to do with how you're holding your pencil sometimes, because it's not a real pencil, you know, and so it's hard to tell. Okay, so remember how we said we want to get the rear end here, but have it kind of go off the edge, because it's not a perfect square. I could resize the canvas, but I'd kind of rather just have it go off the edge here with these shadows. So this is where I'm using my imagination and knowing and understanding that the way the horse's body is and where those lines are going to go. And this is going to be super dark and then lead down into a lighter tone. And then we've got lots of fun whiskers. I'm going to add those last, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so you guys can kind of see what it looks like with the lines over the top. Oh, hey, Karina, thanks for watching. I can see. I'm looking upside down. Sue says, yes, you have star option. Oh, yay. Awesome. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and take off that horse layer so you can see the sketch. I'm kind of missing this line over here, but I can just draw that in really quick. And I'm going to check the mane. This looks kind of short, so I'm just going to double check that a little bit. Yeah, that's how his mane is. Maybe, oh, it tucks up under right there. So just kind of eyeing it, making sure I got everything. And I'm pretty happy with that. So now I can work directly on this layer for painting, or I could add another layer and paint on top of the outline. I just like to paint with the outline there. That way I can blend the edges and kind of see what's going on. So that you guys, let's see, that reflection on my phone is just going to be there no matter what. So trying to see if there's a better way so you guys don't have to see that. I'm going to start by zooming in up here, and I like to start from the top down, just like if I was painting a real painting. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come over here because I want to still be able to look at my reference photo as I work. So I'm going to, let's see, canvas. There we go. So, okay, if you go to canvas here, after you click the little wrench up here and it says canvas, see here where it says reference? I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to, it has an image of what I have right now, but I'm going to import my reference. And there it is. So now I can move this, I can zoom in, zoom out, whatever I need, and have it on hand. I'm going to click back over here and, whoops, see if, usually you can move it around. There we go. It's just kind of playing with me. There we go. So, and then you can also zoom in on your reference. See how, like, as you're working, you can zoom in on that part, and like I'm going to be working on his ear, so I can see the ear and what I'm going to be doing. Okay. Now I'm going to scoot this back over here so that you guys can see. So this is my color palette. This shows the history of the colors that I've used before, just lots of different colors that I had in the past. Some of these colors are similar to what I will probably be using today. Um, so I'm going to take a look at my overall painting and go, okay, well, the overall reference photo, and decide that main color is that kind of burnt sienna. It's this color. So what I'm gonna do is, because this is my history here, I'm gonna clear that, and I'm gonna kind of pull from this palette because I know I'm gonna use some of these. So first off, we always use, if it's gonna let me. Oh, I think I have to use it to let me. So you can also go down here, and it's gonna have different options down here. You can change the value. And then they have like palettes you can set. So I'm gonna keep this untitled palette because I know I want these browns here, but I know I'm gonna end up adding other browns too. So I'm gonna go back to my disc. I really like just having the disc so I can see, and then you can kind of scroll your pencil around here to pick what colors you need. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this burnt sienna tone, and that's gonna be kind of my base tone. I do feel like it needs to be a little more brown, so I'm gonna kind of brown it up a bit. Not quite as orangey. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now I'm gonna click back over on my canvas, come back over here, zoom in with my reference photo. If you're hopping on, say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think. So I'm starting on the ear here, and I'm just going to, whoop, decided to add that back in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to my, make sure you guys can see that. Go to my brush now, and I like to do the underpainting. If you go to painting, I like to use oil paint. That's just kind of my preference. But if you look here, there's so many different options. You could use acrylic, you could use a round brush, flat brush, wet acrylic, jagged brush. See, and how it shows the strokes, what they look like. I just really like to use the oil paint to start. So I'm clicking the oil paint option, clicking back on my canvas, and then I'm going to go ahead and start filling in and just kind of getting an idea of how big my brush is with my pencil. Now, if it's too big, you can come over here and adjust it. This will adjust how big your brush is, and this side adjusts how bold your color is. So the higher it goes up, the bigger the brush, the bolder your colors, the lower, the smaller your brush, and the more opaque your colors are. So I'm kind of going in here. I will kind of end up getting some more shadow in here, but I just want to get that undertone. And it's really very soothing. See how it looks like hair already? It's just really pretty. I feel like up there, I'm probably going to have to go a little bit smaller. This is going to get dark in here. And this is going to get a bit lighter. I see how it's kind of blending my pencil where I drew at the same time as I'm painting. And then the cool thing about the Apple Pencil too is that you can, depending on how much pressure you use, like right here, if I push really hard over and over, see how bright it is? So I'm going to undo that. But if I were to go a little lighter, it's not so bright. Okay. Feeling like I need to look a little more over here. Just gonna blend this down a little bit more and come up into the ear here. I'm gonna make my brush a little bit smaller so I can get up around that edge. This is part of the mane, but I do need to get back in there and kind of get into the darker tones there. So I'm gonna kind of wait to add to that little hair. And this is gonna be a bit lighter. I'm gonna start looking and see where things are a little darker here. In fact, I think this needs to be quite a bit darker. So I'm gonna actually skip that spot. Come down here a little bit. I'm gonna check for comments. Okay, I don't see any more comments. So this is kind of that main base tone that I'm covering most of our horse with. I'm gonna leave that a little bit lighter because I do want to get in there. It's gonna be kind of dark. And I'm pulling my pencil the same way I would if I were, you know, petting the horse and seeing the direction that the hair is growing. Go a little bit bigger on my brush here. I want kind of a smoother look. There we go. And having a black background just kind of naturally gives a shadow tone underneath too, which I love. It's kind of a bonus. See how it went kind of light there? That's because that's where my pencil's at. And when you choose the oil painting option, it looks like it and behaves like it would if it was real oil paint. So it ends up kind of pulling whatever's on there in with what it would look like if it was actual oil that you're working with. So we're kind of starting to get somewhere here. It's not fully coming together quite yet, but just takes some time. Under here, the muscles start to kind of curve. So I'm going to pull my brush like I'm curving underneath. And I know there's going to be a bit of a shadow. I really like how that's looking, that shadow right there. I just love horses. We're planning on moving out to where my in-laws live. My father-in-law has three, he has 3 horses, 3 females, and it's a mom and her 2 daughters. And I really want to get the girls into horseback riding lessons and kind of learn more about how to take care of them and have fun with them. Okay, I'm adding a little more pressure here because the lighting here is a little bit brighter. And you can see I accidentally dabbled a bit there. That's okay. I can always paint over it or erase it. And I need to make my brush a little smaller, just getting into these little spots so I don't lose my lines with the halter. That's the word I was thinking of, not the bridle, the halter. Maybe that's what that's called. I can't remember all the little things. See how you can kind of just use it like you're coloring a little bit and just have fun with it. I'm gonna go small again. I know like we need to get in here. And then this is part of the reins. This is part of the body. And then this is another part of the body over here. It's starting to get a bit darker, so I'm going to lighten up my pressure over here. Move that over, make sure you guys can see. I'm going to go quite a bit bigger here because I have a lot of surface area to cover, so now I can adjust my brush and go bigger. And it's going to get darker as I go up, so I'm going to make sure that the shadow tone here is nice and smooth. Blend that spot down that I got. Okay, I know this is a nice big highlight. I'm going to leave that. Go a little light here just because it's kind of brown. Another part of that highlight. And this kind of fades back into the distance. Still got to get into the face here a little bit more. I'm going to kind of move on down into here. I love painting with the Apple Pencil. It's so fun. And if anyone's watching and they've done their own stuff with the Apple Pencil, please let me know. I'd love to see what you've done and share it in the group. Or if you're watching on YouTube, follow my page at Art Your Way. You can share on my page if you wanted to. That would be fun. You could even just share it in the comments on this post after it posts. That would be good too. Okay, so this is a bit lighter. His nose is a little dark. And this just kind of blends down into kind of a gray mottled area. I'm going to zoom in over here and get into the eye a bit more. Around the eye. This area is going to be a darker brown, so that's kind of why I'm leaving it, because I know I want to go darker there. I want this to be a bit brighter over here. So I'm kind of leaving space here and there just so that I have an idea of where I'm going with things, and making sure I don't go too dark or too light in some spots. Doing just a little bit of brown right there. So the whole time I'm doing this, I'm kind of looking back and forth between my painting and my reference photo, so that I have an idea of what's going on with everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to my shadow tone. So I'm going to come up into my corner here, and all I'm going to do is make that burnt sienna a little bit darker, but it's still pretty red. So I'm kind of trying to see. Right about there. I kind of like that tone. Okay, so now I can get into my shadows and make it look a little more natural and not so much black. And so I'm going to come underneath the mane here. And this actually has some lighter tones too. And then up in here, we're going to do some light little hairs to add details there. But just for now, we're getting in some darker tones. I don't even want to go darker than that. Let's get more like dark brown. Yeah, that's still looking pretty light right there. And you might even have to do more than just the 3 tones, where you have like your main tone, your shadow tone, your highlight. You might have to really play around and see, kind of like what I'm doing. Like, I'm realizing, oh, I need to get darker. And sometimes the black just creates a natural shadow too, and that's fun. Get up in here. This is pretty dark, kind of the curves. This area should be a little more of my burnt sienna. So if you find spots as you go where you need to kind of go back to your lighter tone, then it's pretty easy to switch over. It might be kind of hard to see with the black, but I'm just blending some of that darker tone up into the burnt sienna. It's pretty dark down here. It's not quite that dark in the painting, so I'm going to switch over and add a little more the lighter tone. I'm just going to soften where these two blend a little bit because it's kind of a harsh transition right now. You don't really want that. And adding a little bit of that reddish tone that I first grabbed. And I'm remembering that, you know, I am going to go back in with some highlights anyways. So if it's not looking just right yet, we're going to get there. This line is kind of harsh, so I'm just softening it. I want some red in here. This is going to be really pretty. And switch over to the dark and kind of blend in with the dark right here. And see how this is like kind of striated a little bit. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm going to switch back over to this lighter color. Oh, and see how it made me do a splash there. I'm going to, oh, maybe I did that on a different time. I'll have to erase it. So I'm just going to gently pull it and not add as much pressure, and that way it's blending a little bit better. See that? You were actually painting with oil paints, you would do this with your brush and have to wipe over and over on a paper towel probably to get that to blend a little bit better. But with this, it's really nice. You can just depends on your pressure and how you're using your brush. Hope you guys can see that okay. I know it's so hard with the reflection from the camera. I'm gonna share, the cool thing about Procreate too is it records as you're painting, so you can share a time lapse after. So I'll share the recording after so that maybe you guys can watch that a little bit more easily. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my dark tone. I really want to get this area really like a shadowed spot. And right up in here. I'm just trying to cover my bases now and kind of seeing where my shadows need to be. I'm going to zoom into the eye here. It's got quite a bit of black actually. I'll make my brush a little smaller. I know the pupil's going to be pretty brown, so I'm going to get in there. And it's going to be pretty dark too with some black. I'm going to add, actually let's add a bit of a highlight right here on the eyelid. I wonder if I try to move it where the That highlight's not. Maybe that'll help you guys to see it. Just kind of moving in to those wrinkles. And then I'm trying to look around and see where else I need some of my dark. So this line I'm not liking. I'm going to kind of soften it a bit. Make my brush a little bit bigger. I know this is going to be a highlighted area, so I'm going to kind of leave that. And this is going to be a highlight too over here. There is some dark brown down in here. Oops. I'm kind of add some brown around here. It's kind of hard to see on top of the black, but there's a little bit of brown there. This is going to end up being pretty gray, and then the blaze will be white. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my highlights, and then we can start working on some of the details like the blaze, the nose, and the eyes. So for my highlight tone, I want to use that same burnt sienna. I've been using it, but just a lighter version. Almost kind of, let's see. We want to go kind of orangey. Really light orange, like there. I'm liking that. Okay, so I'm gonna erase this spot really quick that I made a mistake on. Go back to my little paintbrush and go into my ears here. I'm gonna make my brush a little smaller, and now we'll be able to start seeing things come together a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about these little hairs yet, because I'd like to use a pencil, I think, to get those little tiny details in there at the end. Kind of coming in underneath here. I see a dark spot I missed, so I'm just going to kind of leave it. Or I could just do this, but add just a lighter pressure to blend it, but I think I'm going to have to get in there. Oh, these wrinkles. They have these cute little wrinkles around their ears. I'm going to try to zoom in so you guys can see better. Again, I'll try to move it so that the reflection of the phone is not there. Okay, I'm going to blend this line that's on the edge here from my pencil that I had before. And this area is a little bit lighter. I love the oil painting option on this because it just is soft and kind of helps you to blend as you're going. It's a way to paint with oil paints without having to worry about children getting into them either, because they do take a long time to dry. So I'm coming up underneath the halter here. Add some highlights to the mane and kind of get rid of that line. I love doing the hair, especially towards the end. We'll do some strokes that really make it look real. It's gonna look really awesome. So I'm kind of pulling and zigzagging up and down. And then there's also, it's kind of hard to see, but there's also a tuft of hair kind of coming this way. It's almost blending in with the rest of the horse. We can stand out a bit more with some details here later. Kind of pulling this a little more just so it looks a little more like hair on the mane. See, every time you kind of try to grab it and move it, sometimes you do end up making a little mark, and that's all right. Okay, now this part of the mane, got some little tufts poking up here. If you're just hopping on, feel free to say hi. It's much lighter over here. We'll add some more defined, like kind of wisps on the mane towards the end, but just now we're getting that really nice painted look in. And I don't know if you guys saw that, but sometimes with Procreate, it does kind of do that where it just doesn't work. And you just gotta deal with it. I'm gonna make my brush a little smaller, coming up on the edge of this cute little ear here. Add a little bit more to this guy over on this side. Just loving that coloring. Oh my gosh, so pretty. I'm really in love with the burnt sienna tone right now with painting. It just goes, it's like great with everything. Okay, so see how that looks like his hair? It's really cute. And then I'm gonna blend this in here a little bit. And again, just my pencil where I had my pencil marks, I'm just gonna kind of blend them in with the paint. You can still see a little bit up in here, so. Oh my gosh, he's looking so cute. I love these ears. Okay, so I'm zooming out a little bit. Kind of seeing where I'm at. He's got this little hair is just kind of pulling down more. Okay, I'm going to add a bit of a highlight here. There's a bit of a highlight on the tip of the eyelid, and it kind of darkens. So I'm going a little soft there. And I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger and start adding in highlight. Let's be bigger than that. Adding in this highlight all along the nose. I know that's probably hard to see with the reflection. Let's try right there. See if that helps. Kind of blending right in here where the muscles are kind of changing under the skin and the fur a bit. Nice highlight right here. Blending right on up into the eye. Just a little lighter pressure in here just to blend that, our main tone, into that highlight. Brush is a little bit big. Well, I lost my highlight. Okay, I have to make it again. Just right about there. So I don't know why on the history here, maybe it was that one. I lost my color. That happens sometimes. I don't know. I'm not like super proficient with Procreate to know why it happens, but so this line is like not this dark. It's really just a vein that's leading down into this muscle here, and so I just need to blend it a little bit. Trying to soften that spot. Okay, come up over here, add a bit of a highlight up in here. This isn't quite so bold, so I'm just kind of softening it a little bit as I go. This muscle kind of goes over the harness right there by the eye. halter harness. Think about dogs a lot and what their names are for things. Okay, there's a bit of a highlight on the edge of this muscle here. Hopefully you guys can see that. And then I'm going to kind of lightly go in here because I still see some black. It just needs to get blended a little bit. I'm going to kind of come up in here. Make sure you guys can see. Trying to move around that glare from the phone. And it's kind of lighter down in here a bit. And then this highlight back here is really like a tan color, so I'm going to grab this one. It's not blending very nicely yet. I'm going to switch over to that darker brown and blend it in a bit here in a moment. No, I can't see through the glare. There we go. Okay, dark brown. All right, it's coming together. We're almost done with most of the body. I'm gonna use a dark brown to kind of get in where this edge is, just to blend it a little bit more. I'm gonna get back into that highlight color I was using over here and pull it back really lightly, just so we can get an idea of where the end of the horse's back is. You can even switch and kind of go back and forth and blend them together. And this part kind of blends up. Oh, Veronica says, wow, that looks amazing. Oh, thank you. It's coming along. Okay, I'm going to get into the blaze now, so that's kind of fun part. Really easy. It's just white. And then we can get into the eyes and the nose. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to start at the top. And to get it really, really white, since our background is black, we might have to do a couple layers. But now you guys should really be able to see how this is looking when you're watching online against the black. It should contrast a lot better. So yeah, I've got to add a lot of pressure to get a lot of light on there. If you're just hopping on, this is a program called Procreate that I'm using with my iPad and the Apple Pencil. This part, the hair is not showing that much, so I'm actually going to paint over that. I'll fix this guy, this little spot. And see how if we were working with oils, it would naturally just pull that paint down like that. You wouldn't be able to be as free as I'm being if you were really working with oils either, because oils are kind of a beast of their own. If you're really experienced with oils, please feel free to say so, and you know what you like about them, what you enjoy. I used to do oils more in high school. I really loved them, way more than acrylics. But when you have little kids, it's scary to have really nice paintings around that they could come and mess up, so I get scared to have them. This part is kind of gray, so I am going to go kind of light right here. Naturally get that gray in there without having to paint it in is a plus, because my white is just blending with the black background. It's so cute. It gets kind of pink down by the nose. I get kind of light in here because I do want to add some pink there. It's gonna be so cute. Okay, it's pretty white here, and I'm gonna get it a little bit whiter as it moves towards this area. Brush pretty small. There's just a little wing up here from the white. Okay, so now I can kind of get into my gray. And actually, like I was saying, I wonder if I can just make it gray with the going light with the pencil. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. It kind of pulls the brown in from the rest of the body, so we could probably go in and use some brown here too. So I'm just going really light with my pressure so that I can get this nice gray tone and not so much white. Actually, never done that before, to just make it on a black canvas. Learn something new every day, I swear. Kind of coming around the nostrils here. It's pretty gray. Brown up in here. Make a little more gray here. Make my paintbrush a little smaller and really get in. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see better on the mouth where I'm working here. So I'm really going to get in some gray here, but kind of leave where the line is at, it separates. This is more of a highlight, so I'm adding a little more pressure, get a little more white. It's almost a curve here. Okay, I'm gonna get into a dark gray now, just for this spot. I'm gonna actually, it's almost like a purpley gray, just to blend here. Actually, do that. Make this smaller. So this line, my white line, is kind of making it lighter than I'd like it to be. So I'm actually going to go in with some of that dark brown. Could even go in with black. Pretty dark up in here. And just so you guys know, like, you know, there's no, I mean, this might look intimidating, but I practiced a lot with this, and I taught myself. My brother-in-law went to the Art Institute of Seattle, and he kind of gave me some pointers here and there, and I looked at YouTube for some things, but for the most part, I taught myself how to use Procreate just by playing around with it, and I know that you guys can do that too if you wanted to. So don't feel like this looks so hard, you know. It's easier than it looks, especially once you start playing around with it. Okay, I'm gonna get into, let's do this kind of baby pink. So cute right in here. It's kind of going up into the nostril. Yeah, a little bigger just so it blends a little bit better. This area is really pink, so I'm gonna add a little more pressure. And I'm kind of going little small circular strokes so I don't get such a paintbrush look. So you can close up, blending up into the nostril a bit. But sometimes, you know, when you're painting, you might like that look, and it's kind of nice to have it have a little bit of a paintbrushy stroke look. So it's all up to you and your personal style, what you prefer. Okay, and then down here is pretty light. I'm gonna switch back over. Let's do this guy here. So a lot of doing pet portraits is just understanding the tones and the colors that you need and trying to get the tones right. I don't always get them spot on, but the more you practice, the more you learn, and just try your best. And define this edge a little bit more with some white. And this even comes down and around here. And then this is the edge of the other side of his nose, so I'm going to, let's do that guy there. Let's highlight it a bit. Add a little white, very edge. Okay, I'm going to zoom out and see how he's looking. He's coming together slowly but surely. Oh, Jamie says, looks amazing, friend. Oh, thank you. Thanks for watching. Okay, so now I'm going to get, I want to get the nostril a little bit darker. Kind of went a little too light with this line here, so I'm going to fix that. And I really want this edge really, really dark. It even like curls up and around a bit. And then it's a little more gray right there. So I'm going to get back to my white. Get in there with some gray. And this is probably just me being kind of finicky with it. You wouldn't have to get so particular, but just depending on what your preference is and how you're painting things. Go a little bit bigger with my paintbrush. Here, add a little more of a kind of grayish, lighter tone. Okay, I am pretty content with that so far. I'm going to move into the eye. Now you guys can really see it. I'm going to scoot it so the reflection shows it a little bit better. Okay, so now for the eye, I'm going to keep going with this grayish tone, but I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller and just kind of get in there and start to make sure my touch is kind of light, so that I keep the gray look that's blending naturally with the black background, and just start filling in where it's a little bit gray here and there. And see how it's just naturally blending in with the browns too. Whoops. Gave me the eraser option. I don't want that. Okay. So I have noticed with the Apple Pencil, I think if you tap on the edge or something with your finger, or if you move it somehow. Oh yeah, see, I tapped it, it moved to the eraser. If I tap it again, it moves back to the paintbrush. So sometimes I just do that on accident. And it's kind of annoying, so you gotta kind of like get used to that. Make this a little bit smaller. And see how this white pencil is just naturally blending. This is honestly my first time painting on a black background in Procreate. I think I've usually done a lighter background, so it's kind of fun for me to have something different. It's kind of giving a natural undertone. I'm gonna pull some more brown down in there. More orangey color. See our highlight up here. I kind of like the brush look right there. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in on my eye on my reference photo too, just so I'm getting things right. So I'm going to go in and use a really, really dark brown, like almost black brown, and get under and blend this pencil a bit. It's just going to naturally give that separation. And then, because this part of the eyelid curves inward, because it's part of what's protecting the eye, and so I'm going to make my brush really small. I'm going to switch back to my white and pull that white pencil in an inward motion so that it blends. Hope you guys can see that. So that it blends down into the eye. And see, it's super light, so I'm even able to kind of go back and forth blending it a little bit too, but just kind of blending that pencil a little bit better. I'm sorry, I bumped the camera with my pencil. That's how close it is. I've tried to go in close so you guys can see. Okay, and then this is a highlight here, and it's almost like this color. Whoop. Sorry, guys. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna get that highlight, kind of that natural tan color. And there's almost like a couple of black spots around it, so I'm just kind of leaving those. And then I'm just gonna blend this brown kind of up into the tan spots. And it doesn't look like much, but it is gonna be kind of that highlight. Up close it looks like not much, but far away it's gonna look awesome. Okay, and then we've got some kind of a gray highlight up here, and that's really white. So I'm gonna add lots of pressure right here, and then lighten up as I go up. And I had some pencil marks here, so it's just leaving those there. That's fine, because we're gonna add eyelashes, and that's gonna naturally did that look? Okay, I'm gonna switch. Let's do this dark brown. And see how this is really white right here? It doesn't look like that on the picture, so I'm gonna blend this a little bit better before we add on our eyelashes. Jane, a Facebook user says, what is my reference? So my reference photo is this here, over to the side. This is just a picture I found on Pixabay. If you go and search horse on Pixabay, this is what pops up. Pixabay, for those who aren't familiar with it, is a free site where you can use photos for your own personal use and don't have to worry about copyright issues. And so if you wanted to give this a try at home, you definitely could. Okay, now I'm going to go to black and start adding in some of these wrinkles and defining them a little bit more, and the eyelashes. Now, I personally like to switch over to, instead of doing the oil paint for this part, I like to switch over to maybe like my inking option, or even like this, back to my sketch pencil, and the peppermint option that we started out with our sketch. And so I'm going to come in and just pull. I'll zoom in even more for you guys to see. I'm just going to pull some straight lines, which it is really, hold on, it made it all the way up. There we go. Let's see. Let's do about there. So horses have straight eyelashes, so I'm just going to pull some straight lines down from that edge. And I'm going to blend, make it super dark along here. Let's see. This is just kind of where we had that outline. And then there's a bit of a shadow here. I'm going to switch to white and add a light shadow there. And then back to black. And kind of pull in here. You could switch back to your paintbrush at this point if you wanted to. But just having the pencil kind of helps to get those lines defined a little bit better. And when I zoom back out, you'll see you can't even tell that it's partly with the pencil and partly with the paint. Just gonna blend where this pencil area was at. And there's even, like right up under here, I'm gonna clean it up a bit, do a nice clean black line. And then blend where these white lines are at. So like I said, this is really technical, and this is probably more for the advanced artist to get in here and do all these little itty bitty details. But I really, I don't know what it is. It's just doing little tiny details is very satisfying, I guess. I don't know. Satisfying for me. Okay, so I'm going to switch back over to painting and oil paint. Oops, it's highlighted. We've got that. And I'm going to kind of go in here with a little more of my brown. Let's do this guy. I'm going to go a little bit bigger. A little darker there. I don't like as much. Okay. I think I'm about ready to zoom out and see what it looks like from afar. I could still see my pencil line over here too. I'm going to actually clean up that edge really quick. Get into my orange. And I do need to zoom out a bit to be able to see that. Hopefully you guys can see it too. And I'm just moving in and adding a little more red in here. This is kind of a brownish tone. I'm going to kind of lightly go over it just to blend it. And I can still see some of my white pencil here. I'm going to just go in there and blend it a little bit too. And this is pretty dark here, so I'm trying to not go too All right. We're ready to zoom out and see what it's going to look like. And it does look pretty good. I do feel like maybe I could define the lid a little bit more, but there's just, you know, just kind of play with it and see. Go back to this dark brown and kind of come in here on this edge. There we go. Kind of want to get into my highlight tone a little bit more and kind of get in here. Okay, so now we pretty much just have the little details to go and our whiskers. And so I'm going to go ahead and let's do our bridle first before our whiskers and our little hairs. So this is kind of fun. We can switch things up a little bit now. I'm going to do, let's do this kind of brighter royal blue for some of the beads up here. And this is supposed to be all like shadow actually, so I'm going to do that first. Let me get into my darker brown and kind of get in there and just blend. And I'm not going to worry too much if I go over my beads because I can just paint over them into this highlight color here. And so it looks like we've got one bead here that's blue, and we move 3 over and there's one right here that's blue. It just looks like a blue blob right now. So we're gonna have to add highlight and shadow to make it look better. And it looks like some of them are pink, so I'm guessing this horse is pink, is a girl. So let's do, it's kind of like a baby pink, almost white. You know what? I like brighter colors, so I'm gonna change it up a bit. Let's do some of them, just a little smaller. Let's do some of them this fun pink. Let's see, maybe every other one. So this is where you can kind of have fun and you don't have to follow the picture so much. And then we'll do the other ones this really light pink. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Okay. Let's see. There should be a blue one over here somewhere. Pink, white, blue. Well, no, we'll just do a blue one up in here. Okay. So now we can add a little bit of shadow. I'm just going to get into my black and come up, make my brush smaller, and come up underneath each one. You could do like a darker pink if you wanted to. Just kind of going in a U shape underneath them. It's a little hard to do the shadow with the when it's smaller like this. I'm going to go back to my pencil, see if we can get a better look. There we go. And just thinking about rounded objects, you know it's going to be darkest right underneath and then kind of get shaded as it go up. And then these are going to be pretty dark because they're underneath the hair. Kind of going in a circular motion here. Okay. And I'm going to do a white highlight on each of them. And we'll see. It kind of looks cartoony up close, but once we zoom out, it'll look a little bit better. You can even kind of blend it down. This one should be pretty bright. Pretty. Okay. Now we're going to do the halter part, which is this. It's almost the exact same color as the highlighted tone on the horse. See me zoom out how pretty that looks. It's so fun. Okay, so now, and even like, I feel like this highlight, let's undo that. Go back to our painting and our, where are you? Oil brush. Oil paint. Okay. I'm going to get back over here, get my brush a little bigger, and kind of blend up in here a little bit better. It's not quite that dark. And now I'm going to just fill in this cute little bridle. Here's part of the ear. Or halter, bridle, halter. I think the bridle is the thing you hold on to. Someone who knows horses better than me needs to educate me. I used to know. I used to hang out with lots of ag kids and go horseback riding and stuff, and I never did play polo. I think that would have been fun. So you guys can see, even with me painting this live, like these used to take me 5 hours to get into all of the little details and things. So this is just painting live and trying to give you guys an idea of it, and it's taken, I don't know, we started at 1, it's been at least 2 hours here in 10 minutes. So you can see, you know, it does take some time. Got some more beads there, but they're all like clammy, glittery. And this is all part of the fur in the background. Just kind of blending it in. I like to kind of wait and get, you know, around all these edges towards the end, because I never know if I want to change something, blend something. So this has a cool flower design on it that I really like. So I wouldn't really, I'm just going to draw it in. I'm going to paint over and draw it in. I wouldn't really draw around it, to be honest. I know I drew it in there, but just to make it easier on filling this area in and not having to go around the whole thing, I'm just going to fill it in myself. And then this is another little glitzy, glammy thing on the halter. This is part of the jaw. So see, I kind of waited to get in there to do this part. Sometimes it's easier to tell what's what once things are filled in a little bit better. And then this curves around here. This is part of the jaw here. And this is a shadow up here. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger on my brush. Whoop. Switch back over to my brown, darker brown, kind of get in this shadow area. And then this is also shadow, dark brown, kind of blend up a bit more to get rid of my pencil. And up underneath here. Right up against here is pretty light, but I'm still kind of leaving a line so I can separate the halter from the horse. And then down in here is part of the neck. It's just really dark. And this is also part of the neck. Again, just going really light with things just to make sure I have that shadow look. And this can get a little bit lighter closer to there. Okay, let's do our little glitzy things on here, and then we'll add some shadows and get into, well, actually let's do, because these reins are about the same color, because they're also a little lighter in here, because it's kind of shadowed. Just kind of remembering how this is shaped here as I move my pencil. Okay, this is pretty light. And see how you can just go right off the edge? It's kind of nice that way. Okay, I'm gonna go in and do our little glitzy glam areas. So I'm just gonna go zoom right here. And let's see, this area is also part of that halter, so let's fill that in. And this should be kind of shadowed, so I'm going lighter in here. Okay, so now I'm just gonna make these little blobs just like we did our beads before. Make my brush a little smaller. I'm just going in a circle around this. Maybe not even following my pencil so much. It's all right. Make your own beads. Kind of trying to find these up here a little bit better. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna get back into my orangey color. Just fill in lightly here so that it's shadow. Make sure this area is really, really bright. And then some of these are kind of like a gray tone. I'm just going to kind of come up underneath them with a bit of black. Just give a little bit of a shadow. On this side, the shadow is kind of underneath. I'm going to go to my pencil and add just a highlight on the edge of these just to make them pop a little bit more. Alright. And we haven't added our stitching yet either, so that'll be another fun addition. So these are the little details that take time. If you were painting these for a party or something, this would be a long class. This one says, "Ooh, I need more help with drawing horses." Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get into. When I just sketch them on my own, the actually drawing the horses, I never get like their legs right or their arms right. I mean their face, like with the muscles. But if you can have like an outline that you can draw out and you have a good reference photo, and it makes a big difference. You know, and really being able to just draw them out of your head, it just takes practice. So you can get to that point too. These literally just look like little white blobs when you're painting them on there. So they look more intimidating than they actually are. I'm trying to add more of a highlight on the upper side. Trying to just make a little more of a shadow in here. It's not perfect, but it's coming together. Okay. So now let's go into our white and do this silver area. Painting silver things is actually really easy. It just seems, let me go, oh yeah, I am in my window paint. I need to get a little bit bigger. It just looks kind of intimidating, but it's actually pretty easy. There's a bit of a highlight here, so I'm going to add that on. There's all these little bits down here. Okay. I'm pretty content with that so far. Let's see. I want to let's do a little more highlights around the eyes because I kind of want the eyes to pop out a little bit more. Alright, I think we're ready for some like wispy hairs and the final details. So we're going to check for comments really quick. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. And so now we just need, let's switch over to, let's add our cool design here with the, let's see, let's do inking. And let's try this technical pen. See how that looks. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in here and see. I'm probably just going to make up my own rows, to be honest. It looks like there's a big one here and then it gets smaller. So let's just create our own. I'm just going to do some little flower or some leaves. And maybe there's, looks like it's got some more coming out here. Maybe some over the edge. And maybe there's, it looks like there's another little rose up here. Okay, I'm gonna add highlight around the edge of my halter, and I'm going to switch back to my paint to do that. I do not want round brush, oil paint. just along that line, just to kind of blend that edge. Kind of up, whoop. Give me the eraser. There we go. Kind of up underneath here. And coming up over here. Just kind of separating those areas a little bit better. So you can see that there's still like quite a bit of my black tone in the background. If we had a little bit more time, I would really do a few more layers of this brown on top. But for now, I'm kind of liking how it's looking with that natural shadow. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to the inking in our technical pen and just pull a dotted line along the edge of these. Now I need it to be pretty small because this is just the stitching. Zoom in a little bit better so you guys can see. Tiny little lines. Even just a little bit right here, a little bit right there. Let's make that highlight a little bit brighter. You can see my stitching is not perfect. If someone were to look at this, they go, that's not perfectly straight. Okay, there's no stitching on the reins, so we don't have to worry about that. But I do want to switch to painting and just add a little more brown, and with this white here, soften the pencil areas. This doesn't need to be here, so just kind of getting back in there and blending things. Let's do some shadows. Actually, let's there. Blend it. It's getting there. It's coming. Sorry, I just realized it's hard to see. Okay. Now I'm ready to go in with my sketch pencil and make sure it's not too big. And I want to get in and just start adding some little hairs. And this is what's really going to make it look realistic. So let's see if we can see up here. It's probably kind of hard to see. Teeny tiny little hairs over and over. Probably go a little bit. So there's kind of a black space there, and I'm going to take my eraser and just erase my pencil a bit. And even this hair is kind of bugging me. I'll shape it a little bit better. These could be a little more. See how you can kind of use your eraser to be even smaller, and you can kind of shape them. Okay, back to our little hairs here. Alright, let's add some whiskers. So they just kind of, oh look, so you can see I kind of made a boo-boo there. I'm going to kind of erase right there. Okay. I'm going to do, let's do cream color for the whiskers. Actually, even just white. I just really want them to stand out. So, horse whiskers are weird. They're all over their nose, and they go in weird directions, and they're kind of short. So, I'm just kind of pulling randomly here and there. They get really short around their mouth. going to add a little more of a highlight on the edge of the nose here. It's kind of big. Let's go a little smaller. There we go. Okay, well, I'm pretty satisfied with that for now. If we had more time, we would really get in and get this quite a bit darker. Like I would go in and add another layer in here and really get things completely covered. You could also always change your background tone, and that would help to get things covered a little bit better. But for now, I'm going to just be content with that. Go ahead and add my signature. Let's see. Let's go to inking. I like that technical pen a lot. I'm going to go into this corner, kind of like that. Let's do this kind of pink tone. And I just like to do, let's see, that's kind of small. That's the cool thing about this. You can make your signature look cool on this. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. So now I can print it if I want to. I can go to my gallery and you can see it. That's what it looks like when I open it. I can exit out of my reference photo so I can fully see it. And I'll go ahead and share the time lapse of this so you can see it better without that glare on it. But thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you next time.